Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to my September reading list. I only have a couple of things on my to be read list for September because I've been in and out of reading slump. I've said this before. I don't want to carry over all of the books that I put on previous TBRs. I'm just putting them together as a general goal and addressing maybe one or two on that list because I'm reading a lot slower this year than I have ever in the past. So that said, I would like to point out that even though my reading isn't doing that well this year, because of the work that I've done on my to be read pile in the previous years, my TBR is actually at 17 unread books. So that's not too bad. And of those books, most of them are the first in a new series. So all of them in the future I want to start and continue each series. So that is a lot for future me to read. But if I look at them, only two of them are a second book in a series and only one of them is a standalone. So the standalone is The Surprising Power of a Good Dumpling, and that's on my August TBR. I'm filming this around mid-August, so I don't know if I've actually read that yet, but if I don't read it, obviously this is going to be the only carryover. And then additionally, I've also got Calibans War, which is the second book in the Leviathan Wakes series that is also known as The Expanse. It's a TV show, massive large-scale sci-fi. I don't want to talk too much about it because I've got a review of the first book, but the second book, like I said, is on my TBR and I would like to read it to gauge how I feel about the series, because the first book I gave a 4 stars, the second book I'm not sure and I've heard that it gets better, but if it doesn't get better, I might just park the series and watch the TV show instead. I'm really not sure. Next up, I want to talk about the new releases that I'm looking forward to. There's only 2 of them and this is going to be a very short to be read video, but I don't really have anything else that I'd like to add. I'm currently reading King of Thorns and also Starsight, but I think I will have finished those by the time this TBR rolls around. But in addition to that, there are books coming out that I don't want to miss out on. And I did make a 2021 anticipated releases for the end half of this year, but I don't think I'm going to get to all of them in that video, even though I only listed 5. I will be revisiting that video on my own time and probably getting those releases, but in terms of putting them on TBR videos actively, I'm kind of in and out. So that leads me into the next book on this list, and that is A Wisdom for Crowds, or A Wisdom of Crowds, or The Wisdom of Crowds. Either way, it's the third book in Joe Abercrombie's new series. The first book is A Little Hatred, the second is A Trouble with Peace. Either way, that's coming out, I think, in September, mid to late September, and I will be listening to this one on audiobook because I've listened to the rest of them on audiobook. This is a very dark fantasy. It's a grimdark fantasy, but the way that it's written, it doesn't have a lot of sexual violence, if any, in it. And I find that a lot of fantasy books, or at least adult fantasy that are not as modern, they often involve violence against women to progress characters. And while that is a legitimate thing that happens, it's also really dry if I constantly read about it. And so it's been a nice refreshing change to just read about violence for the sake of violence and not have to worry about every single woman in the book, because I like reading about different kinds of characters. And I think Joe Abercrombie does his characterization amazingly. So that's why I'm anticipating that third book. If I don't get to the audiobook during September, then I will get to it eventually, but my reading, like I said, has slowed down. I'm only getting to an audiobook or so maybe a month to every 2 months rather than a couple of audiobooks a month, which is what I did in the past. So I'm just putting it on this list and being hopeful. That's all I can ask for. And then the last one on this list, I'm not in a mood to prioritize it, but there has been so much chatter about it that I can't really ignore it, and that is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I've loved Nevernight and Godsgrave. I didn't really like Dark Dawn. I'm very iffy about J. Kristoff's work now because I've had a few books that I've given low ratings to, so it feels like he starts a series really strong and then in terms of concluding it, it just doesn't do what I want it to. So I'm anticipating Empire of the Vampire. I think I'm gonna love it, and that makes me afraid because I don't want to love it so much because I'm worried about how he's gonna wrap it up. But anyway, it is going to be a book that hopefully I enjoy. It's coming out late September, I believe, so it's probably going to roll onto my October TBR because I might not get to it this month. But either way, those are the books that I'm hoping to read. I would put some rereads on here, but I really honestly don't think I'm going to get to them. I also believe that G from Book Roast has redone her magical readathon, so that's going to happen soon. Maybe at the end of this year, maybe next year. I haven't actually watched the announcement yet, so potentially there's going to be another TBR video for me that's challenge focused. I'm not sure what's going to happen, who knows, but those are the books that I would ideally like to read. Thank you so much for watching this video. Come chat to me down below and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.